Hello, Yefo. I am back with more history today. Today is the first lesson of the week in social studies. And this week we continue learning about crime and punishment. But last week we finished the Anglo-Saxons, and today we are going to be focusing on Tudors. Right, guys. The torturing Tudors, okay, so you can tell from the name of this lesson that probably the Tudors in Britain were pretty brutal with punishments, but anyway, we're going to find out about that. Okay, so what is the lesson objective? The lesson objective for today is you are going to find out about different punishment methods that were popular during the Tudor period. So guys, we had Roman Britain, Anglo-Saxon Britain. This time we're learning about Tudor Britain and Tudors in Britain. You will be able to ask questions about different historical sources of Tudor objects. So we're going to be looking at basically different historical artifacts, and we'll be talking about what do they tell us about the sort of punishments Tudors used. You will be able to tell us some key facts about different types of punishments used in Tudor Britain, and you will be able to explain which crimes were thought to be very serious in Tudor Britain. Okay? All right, guys, so let's start off with a timeline. Guys, last time I showed you a timeline. This timeline was showing you last time it was showing you the Romans and when they left Britain. Then it showed you when basically Anglo-Saxons took over Britain. So here we have the year 1066 AD, or the Common Era. This year marked the end of Anglo-Saxon period in Britain. Then we had the Norman period. Then we have the Plantagenet period. And after that, we have the Tudor period, guys. The Tudors were not another tribe or another nation. Tudors were a family that got to rule Britain. So in year basically 1485, Richard III is defeated by Henry Tudor at the Battle of Bosworth. So Henry Tudor starts ruling Britain. That's why we call it the Tudor era, and another, like a different time start in Britain. We have another era, okay? The Tudors ruled for around 100 years, 120 years, if you can see actually here, around 120 years. All right, okay, guys, at the beginning, we're going to be using a little bit of realizing here. That means this information already should be settled in our heads and we shouldn't really be thinking about it too hard. So going back to Anglo-Saxons from the previous lesson, how did they punish people who stole something? Actually, this particular question, I don't think we learned about specific punishments for specific crimes, but I think for stealing, the Anglo-Saxons actually cut off either your hand or any other part of your body, okay? So, guys, now think about this. How did they decide whether someone was guilty if there were not enough oath keepers? Guys, first of all, you have to remember who is an oath keeper. An oath keeper is a witness, right, who basically will swear that you are innocent. But if there were not enough oath keepers and they could not decide, if you remember what used to happen, and I do hope you remember the trial by ordeal. So if you could not, if you could not convince the jury and the jury could not decide, you would have to go into do a trial by ordeal, and they believe that God would actually decide. And then there's a question for you guys. Would you have wanted to live during Anglo-Saxon times? Well, my personal opinion is I would definitely not like to live at that time. It's not that because I would like to commit crimes, but I think the punishments are really brutal, and you know, I don't like brutality, so it's not really a period of time I'd like to live in. But anyway, Let's skip forward by over 400 years through the Norman and the Plantagenet periods to the Tudor period. So guys, we have, after Anglo-Saxons leave Britain, we have the Norman period. So it was a family, a royal family who took over. And then we have the Plantagenets. I think they came from France. And now we have the Tudors ruling in Britain, okay? So what do you think will have changed in Britain by the time of the Tudor period? Do you think maybe the punishments became more serious or the punishments were less serious? What do you think? And do you think the punishments would have become more fair or do you think they were worse? Why? Okay, try to think about these questions. My own opinion is I'd say that the more time people spent on this in this world, I think the punishments became fairer and maybe less severe, but I might be wrong. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's start, guys. Tudor crime and punishment. So, guys, in Tudor times, there was still no police. Crime, mainly stealing, was widespread. Okay, it was the most widespread type of crime, as many poor people could not afford to pay for increasingly expensive food. However, punishments were harsh in the belief that it would stop others from committing the same crime. New punishments were created to be even more terrifying than before. So, guys, I was wrong. The punishments were even more terrifying. Because most people did not travel far in Tudor England, okay? People did not used to travel much, even between different villages or cities, okay? Anyone who did travel was often treated with suspicion. So if you were traveling, people were like, what are you doing here? Why are you traveling? Are you trying to steal something? Traveling actors had to have a license, otherwise they were breaking the law. Tudor London, okay, so we're talking about Tudor Britain, and London is the capital city. So at that time during Tudor Britain, Tudor London experienced Tudor London experienced some of the worst crimes. It attracted many vagrants who were basically homeless people and people looking for work. The Tudor rich and Tudor poor lived apart, and poor person in a wealthy area was often thought to be a criminal. Okay, public executions again, guys. Execution is basically to put someone to death, okay? But this was carried out publicly. Public executions were extremely popular and people would wait for hours to watch them, often taking their children with them. Can you imagine? Some historians have estimated that about 70,000 people were executed during the reign of Henry VIII. Vagrancy, being homeless, was a crime and it was punished by being whipped or even hanged. So if you were homeless and you did not have a home, you would be whipped or hanged. Many people were afraid that all vagrants were criminals and murderers, so they were basically killing off all the vagrants, all the homeless people, which I think is a bit unfair because it's not always your fault that you become homeless. Stealing was considered a serious Tudor crime and people would be punished for just stealing a bird's egg. Stealing even a small amount of money could mean a death penalty. So it was a very serious crime, stealing. Right, guys. Now, in the following slides, we're going to be looking at some punishment objects from the Tudor era, sorry. We will be using Lincoln here, imagination. So we will be looking at different objects and you will try to imagine what they were used for. Connection finding, maybe trying to think of what I've seen, what objects I've seen in the previous lessons, Anglo-Saxons, Romans, and maybe this will help me figure out what some of these objects could have been used for. And then we will be using analyzing, critical thinking, or logical thinking. Guys, of course, you will be answering questions and you will be asking questions and you will be just generally thinking about and having the knowledge from this lesson, trying to kind of figure out, okay, what these objects were used for. Right, guys, this is a part of the lesson that your teacher will discuss with you on Teams. So, but anyway, if you look at this picture, okay, what would be the questions you would ask about this? Perhaps things like, which part of the body should this go on, what exactly it was used for, how did people open it? It looks like it has a lock, okay? And what do you think it was used for? So if you just think about it, like I maybe it was used for the head, um, and then thinking about if someone put this on your head, then why would they do that? Like probably maybe for telling lies, I don't know. Then we have another object, okay, it's this one. So I think you should be pretty much familiar with this one from the previous lessons. Just think about the pillory. Then another object, this is some kind of like a seat at the end of a long pole, okay, and this one, okay, which looks like some kind of, I don't know, bed where people laid. Okay, just guys, look through these objects. Okay, so obviously here we have something for the head, so I think that might be this one. And then this object, I'm not really sure what people would use it for. Okay, but anyway, let's just talk about it. This object, guys, is called the brank. Okay, and it was put on someone's head if someone was gossiping too much. What does it mean to gossip? If you're not, if you're telling maybe lies, or if you are spreading some kind of information about other people that may not be true, they would put this on your head, and there was a part that would go into your mouth. Okay, this was something like a pillory. I guess people just their hands and their arms and legs would go through, then they would be locked there and be publicly shamed. People would walk around, swear at these people, throw food at them, just shame them in general. Then, guys, this is called the ducking, a stool for witches. So if someone believed that someone was a witch, they would put them on this stool and they would dunk them in the water and see if the witch survived. So if she survived, she was a witch. If this person died drowning, I guess they were not a witch. And this pretty much looks like some kind of torturing object. I guess people laid on it and they had their arms and their legs tied to it, and it looks like when they kind of work this machine, it would stretch your legs and arms out until it was very painful. And guys, this one is called this one is called the rack for stretching people, and this is called the drunkard's cloak. So if someone got drunk and they were acting silly, they would be wearing this kind of wooden cloak just to be publicly ashamed, okay, and people would just, throw things at these people and shame them. All right, so this is a picture of a vagrant, a homeless person being punished in the streets of Tudor England. So try to think about what do you think is happening in this picture. Um, and once again, think about why would rich Tudor people want to punish people who were begging? Okay, based on what I told you already. Okay, guys, and then we have treason. Okay, what is treason? This is very important. The Tudor monarchs were very worried about people trying to take the crown from them. So if you wanted to take the crown from the king or you wanted to overthrow them, this was called treason. Okay, this was a very bad crime. The Star Chamber, it was a type of a court, was set up to hear cases of treason. It became feared as being on trial here meant no jury, no witnesses, and not even a possibility of appealing, okay? The punishment for treason would be death, usually by a very gruesome, horrible method to scare everyone else, okay, to stop them from doing it. So yeah, so this was a very bad crime, guys. Here is a little fascinating fact, and If you, at the end of the lesson, can reflect on your own learning, that would be great. That's all from me for today. See you in lesson 2.